Hey, it's Kevin O'Connor. This week on The Ringer, we published my first mock draft in The Ringer's 2022 NBA Draft Guide, which features a bunch of scouting reports from every prospect in the draft. But today we're talking about the NBA and team fits, starting with the Houston Rockets with the potential number one pick. I have them taking Chet Holmgren. As I wrote here, pairing Holmgren with Jalen Green would give the Rockets a chance at creating the NBA's next great duo. 7-1, computer-like brain, Holmgren's like Rudy Gobert on defense. I know a lot of people don't like Gobert, but can we at least acknowledge that he's a really great defensive player? And Holmgren has a chance to be a really great defensive player right away in the NBA, depending on the role he plays, despite how thin he is. And that's what Houston needs. They need somebody, instead of Christian Wood, who brings effort and toughness and intensity on a consistent basis, and Holmgren does that. In addition to the offensive skill that can make him a great fit next to Jalen Green, I see no reason not to go with him. And, you know, I think the cool thing about him is shot blocking, off-ball defense, perimeter shooting, feel for the game. He just has a baseline of skills that are going to make him a really good player in the NBA. It's just a matter of what happens with the frame, the strength, the size, how much bigger does he get? But I love that fit for Houston. That's a dream. Just like Jabari Smith going to the Pistons is, because you think about Cade Cunningham, like I wrote here, dream facilitator for Smith, 6'10", thrives as a shooter. And then with Auburn, Smith had like the worst playmakers of all time. Cade Cunningham as a rookie is a really good playmaker. So I think Jabari Smith would be in a great role where he can just thrive as a shooter off the catch, attack and closeouts, somebody who's just playing really hard on defense. And also he makes a guy like Jeremy Grant a little bit more expendable. Maybe if you get Jabari Smith, you're more willing to move Grant and get something else good. And then suddenly you got Cade and you got Smith. And you get guys like Isaiah Stewart, and maybe Killian Hayes turns into something. And, you know, who knows? The Pistons could be really good, really fast. This pick right here, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me with Jaden Ivey, number 3 to the Magic. Let me explain myself. I like Jalen Suggs. I think Jalen Suggs can be a good player. What if he sucks? He sucked as a rookie. What if he continues to suck? Just asking the question. And with Jaden Ivey, he's a downhill, super athletic, crazy fun athlete who can shoot threes. Like I wrote in here, he has 33.3% of his threes off the dribble, 35.5% on catch and shoot threes. Those aren't great percentages, but they're solid considering the difficulty of those shots that he takes. I mean, this guy would just inject a whole lot of fun into that Magic roster that I'd be really excited about. And by the way, if Suggs turns out to be a good player, great. You have 2 amazing backcourt players that can both defend multiple positions and play multiple roles with and without the ball. I get excited about the idea of him in Orlando. Paolo Banchero. I'm a little biased here, but Banchero going to the Thunder to me, again, is like the perfect fit. It would be fascinating to watch Banchero integrate into the Thunder system. Banchero likes to ISO and play at his own pace, and he's good at it, but OKC already has Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander running the show. How would Banchero fit in? Getting buckets is great, but OKC also demands effort on defense. Asking Banchero to do too much in a situation without any structure could lead to underwhelming results. The Thunder haven't won many games, but there's something positive brewing there that could lead to the best possible results for Banchero. I agree with that. Banchero, I mean, look at the positives. Versatile scorer, skilled interior scorer, fluid ball handler, confident shooter, creative passer, a strong and quick defender, effective help defender when he's trying. Like, that's the key thing, when he's trying. And with OKC, they had a top 10 defense at certain points this season. I think they could get something good out of Banchero versus all the other guys in this draft. AJ Griffin going 5th to the Kings. I don't know how I feel about this pick, to be honest with you. I don't know what I want to do if I'm the Kings. I wouldn't be overly enthusiastic with AJ Griffin. If I'm the Kings, why are you competing for the play-in tournament? Lose games, tank. It's a good draft up top. Get as good lottery odds as you can. Keegan Murray, number 6 to the Pacers. Like I said here, dream fit next to Miles Turner. I'm not sure if he's a dream player for the Pistons, though. And that's going to depend a lot on how the rest of that roster shakes out. Jalen Duren, number 7 to the Blazers. Duren, I really like this guy. I don't love him. I think for Portland, he's a great fit. He can be a great teammate for Damian Lillard as a screener, as a finisher inside, and his athleticism and his versatility on defense, that could really turn into something important for that team, especially if they move Nurkic. Shaedon Sharpe to the Spurs. A lot of people don't know about Shaedon Sharpe. All we've really seen from him is what he did in AAU in high school, and that's what he did to become the number one player in the country, according to some high school ranking websites. I got a good feeling about Sharpe. I think Sharpe has a chance to turn into the best player in this class, and maybe that's just me falling in love with the mystery box player, the guy that we didn't see play college basketball, the guy who has no stats. But just watch him in high school, and you're going to see a guy who can shoot every shot off the dribble, who can finish with power and intensity at the basket, and he can play defense. He can pass. He can shoot off the catch. Like, what can he not do that doesn't seem translatable to the NBA? That's the big question on my mind, and I'm going to be doing a hell of a lot of intel research on Sharpe in the lead up to the draft because I think he's got something. Mathurin going to the Knicks. People have seen Mathurin in the tournament. They know what this guy's about. They know the intensity that he plays with. And I said it in here, he's a selfish choice for this mock just because I want to see Mathurin suit up for the Knicks in MSG. Hell yeah, I want to see Mathurin in Madison Square Garden. Next couple of picks here, we got Jeremy Sohan to the Blazers with their second selection, then Johnny Davis to the Wizards at 11. He's a point guard. And then Terry Eason from LSU going to the Grizzlies. Sohan, I'm a big fan. I have him ranked in my top 10. I think he will end up going in the lottery. He gives that versatility the Blazers are going to be missing after trading Larry Nance. Not that he did a lot for that team. It's the idea of Nance that they can find in Sohan. They need long wing defenders alongside Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, and that core they now have there. So Sohan makes a lot of sense to me. Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin won Big Ten Player of the Year. He's got to improve his jump shot, but he's got everything else there for you. He can defend, he can rebound, he can pass a little bit, even though he's a score first guy. Mostly does it all from mid-range. I want to see him extend his range to 3. Eason at 12 to the Grizzlies. How crazy is it that the Grizzlies could go deep into the playoffs and also have a lottery pick? With Memphis here, I go with somebody like Eason, who multi-positional defender. He complements John Morant. Don't get too crazy in terms of drafting for upside, because right now I think it's a lot of safer picks like Ochai Agbaji out of Kansas. He's a senior. I got a comparison to Jay Crowder in here. Can someone help me out? Give me a better comparison for Agbaji, because I think with this guy, he just does it all at a high level for doing the things that a role player needs to do: shooting up the catch, attacking closeouts, making the right pass, playing hard on defense, showing leadership, being a good guy in the locker room. I mean, like, I only have 4 positives here. I think I have to add some. Agbaji is going to be a great player in the NBA, and I'd love him next to Trae Young in Atlanta. Walker Kessler, a lot of Hornets fans got mad at me for putting him on this Hornets roster. I don't blame you. He stunk in that last game for Auburn. I'm not sure where to place him. People in the NBA have him everywhere from middle of the first round to early second round. It's that type of year. And we're at the point in the draft here where Dyson Daniels could be a lottery pick. Ty Washington could be a lottery pick. Blake Wesley could be a lottery pick. Like, these 3 guys in a row, it's hard to know where they're going to end up. Daniels, I like a lot. I'd like to see what he can do next to Giddey and SGA with OKC. Ty Washington, he struggled for Kentucky down the stretch for in their last game, but he's a good passer. I'd like him paired with Chet Holmgren if they were to get him number 1, or even if it were Jabari Smith. But if you get a core of Holmgren and then Green and then Ty Washington, if he can grow into being that supportive playmaking guard who can also shoot, that's a nice fit. Blake Wesley, he might not be in the draft this year. We'll see what ends up happening. He might go back. A lot of noise about that around the NBA. Malachi Branham, Mark Titus, my buddy. I did a pod for The Void about OSU and a bunch of other draft prospects. And Branham, he wants Branham to go back to school because he's so good. He's just such a good player, and nobody expected him to go one and done. And people thought Brandon would be somebody who definitely comes back for a year or two. He can score, he can handle, he can defend. What can he not do? Except he's just not a playmaker. He's not a pass first player. But you don't want Brandon to be that. You want him to be a scorer. So you can live with it, especially for a team like the Pacers. Brogdon, turning 30 years old. Give me a young guy to grow next to Halliburton. Kendall Brown out of Baylor to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Up and down year with him as a freshman at Baylor. That's a risky pick for the Timberwolves, somebody who brings upside, and I like the fit if he does pan out. EJ Liddell, another Ohio State guy. Patrick Williams is back for Chicago. We already know how important he is with the size and the versatility he brings on defense. EJ Liddell is another one of those guys. Again, older, comes in right away, knows his role, and he'll embrace it and crush it. Mark Williams out of Duke. I love, let's go with these two guys here. Mark Williams and Christian Koloko. I love these two guys. I love Mark Williams. I think he is an underrated player, an underrated prospect. I think if he were in a different situation and got more opportunity, we'd be talking about him maybe as a lottery guy, because massive 7'7" wingspan, fundamentals, good hands to catch difficult or surprising interior passes. Williams does all those little things that you like to see from a big man that works with their guards and their wings in the pick and roll. But here's the other thing. Capable ball handler who can take a few dribbles when necessary, can create his own shot by sealing off a defender away from the rim or simply posting up. The passing, the handling, the shooting potential, there's more to Williams as somebody who can do more than just protect the rim and roll to the rim. I'm into his game a lot, and I want to see what he could do playing behind a guy like Jokic. So in a way, I kind of hope he falls to a great team. And then with Koloko, he's a 22-year-old rookie. He's a 3-year player at Arizona, but he's gotten better every year. He was a late bloomer. He started playing basketball late. So if he's able to come in and into a team like Dallas, he's going to be able to fit in right away. Simple role as an offensive screener for Luka, and that allow him to flourish as a lob threat while the rest of his game develops, just like it did at Arizona. At Arizona, he comes in right away, plays a limited role, and then he becomes a key figure on a team that's in the Sweet 16. So give me some Koloko in the NBA. I'm excited about him. Nikola Jovic, his stock fell a little bit. People talked about him as a lottery guy. Seems like somebody that a team could take a risk on, like the Spurs, and maybe turn him into something. That's the theme of this draft for the Spurs. I have them taking Sharp, Wesley, and Jovic, 3 upside guys. Beauchamp out of the G League. This is our second G League selection. The third is Jaden Hardy from the Ignite. I have Hardy ranked in my lottery. Beauchamp, I have ranked around the same of where I have him going in this mock draft here. Beauchamp, 3-and-D type of guy. I like what he could provide to the Nets. And as I note here, Bruce Brown's a free agent. He's an important guy on that Nets team, especially without Ben Simmons. Beauchamp can do a lot of the same things. All right, and then I have Jaden Hardy going to the Grizzlies, last player in the G League for the first round here. I have Hardy ranked in the lottery. I think he's an insane talent. I'm a little worried about how much he underwhelmed during his G League season. But ultimately, though, the ball handling, the shooting ability, off the catch and off the dribble, and some of the improvements he made playing with pace, that type of thing over the course of the year, you like to see that progress. And I want to see what he turns into as he advances in the NBA. Everything else is concerning, but for the Grizzlies, going safe up top, then taking a risk later, that makes some sense to me. Montero out of the Overtime League. It's kind of cool to watch those games. They're not a lot of defense, but Montero was able to shine as a creator, playmaker type. And I'd want to see him fall into a situation, though, where there's accountability. Where you need to play defense in order to get on the floor. So that's why I like the Bucks fit for Montero. Wendell Moore out of Duke going to the Warriors. I mean, 3-and-D qualities there, kind of self-explanatory in terms of what the Warriors look for next to Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. Somebody who can play a 3-and-D role, and Wendell Moore makes a lot of sense. Patrick Baldwin We'll see if he actually enters the NBA draft. He was a top 5, top 10 guy entering the season, but he stunk at Milwaukee. It was terrible. It was one of the worst years that you could have actually imagined for him. And now we're talking about him as a late first round draft pick. So with Baldwin, like if a team like the Heat can get him, if a good team in the late first round can get him, part of me wonders if that's the best case scenario for him in the NBA versus raising his draft stock and making more money. I know that sounds stupid, but maybe in the long run, it ends up being more beneficial for you to land with a great team rather than a team that isn't great and that maybe you're developing more bad habits. So we'll see what happens with Baldwin. I think he'll test the waters, but 6'9", he can shoot, he can handle. He just didn't do a lot this year. And last 2 picks here. Christian Braun, not sure he'll actually go first round here. Might be an early to mid second rounder type of guy who can handle the ball for you, shoots threes. I compare him to Wesley Matthews with some of the toughness that he brings. Same with Caruso. Herter, there's some of the playmaking ability. We'll see how Braun develops. And last up here, we have David Roddy out of Colorado State. They lost in the tournament. I'm keeping Roddy in the first round for now. I'm not so sure he'll actually stay there, but this dude, look at this dude. 6'6", 255 pounds. He played football in high school. What position do you think David Roddy played? What position do you think he played? Offensive line? Defensive end? No. David Roddy was a quarterback. 6'6", 250-pound quarterback. That's what David Roddy was. And he can do everything on the court. He's a weird prospect. He's got a weird body for a basketball player. That's why I'm excited about him. And yeah, this draft is going to be weird. It's going to be weird. Like I think after the 14th, in this mock, after the 14th, 15th pick or so, these guys could go a whole bunch of places. Like you could see Koloko go lottery. You could see a guy like Wendell Moore falling into the second round. You could see a guy like David Roddy not get drafted until the 50s. It's this type of year where all of these prospects have dramatically different grades. And I'm really excited about that and how things are going to develop over the next couple months because it's not settled. The evaluation process is not over for teams. They've done all their scouting. They've done all their intel digging, but what they haven't done is talk to these guys and learn from them directly and figure out who they are as people and to put them into situations and ask them questions that demand good quality answers that can ultimately decide, is this guy going to be 5th on our board or 10th? Is he going to be 17th on our board or 30th? All that stuff adds up over the course of time. What happens in workouts? What happens in interviews? So it's early now. This big board and this mock draft are all going to change. The board is certainly going to change. I don't even know who I want to have at number 1. I got Chet 1 now. I got Jabari 2, Bam Bankero 3, Ivy 4. I don't know what it's going to end up being. I still have a lot of research to do with these guys in terms of figuring out who they are as people, because that's the key. But ultimately, be sure to check out the Ringer's 2022 NBA Draft Guide. You can find that at nbadraft.theringer.com. We're going to be updating this with a team needs page. After the draft, we'll do draft grades. We got a whole bunch of fun mocks coming out that we're going to be dropping every single week. And the big board is always going to be updated. So please stay tuned for more from the Ringer's 2022 NBA Draft Guide. And then also while you're here, subscribe to the Ringer. You got to subscribe. We have great videos in your feed all the time. What's taking you so long? Subscribe. Thank you.